In this video, we're going over the 10.4 to 10.6 review. The first question is asking for the vertex. And remember that when you have something, oops, it'd be helpful if I had an actual pen. When you have something like this, which our book refers to as standard form, but everyone else refers to this as vertex form. The x value of the vertex comes in the parentheses. The y value comes from the number after. The number in the parentheses is opposite. So this would be a vertex of -5, +9. And this is a drag and drop. So you must be in Chrome for this to work correctly. And dragging with your fingers on the screen is not going to work. You are going to need to use your mouse, your little scratch pad on your keyboard. So -5 is the x value of the vertex, and +9 is the y value of that vertex. Does the graph open up or down? Because there's not a negative in front, that graph is going to open up. The next one is written in what most of us refer to as standard form. So on this one, to find the vertex, to get the x value of the vertex, we do the opposite of b over 2a. So the opposite of b would be -6, because 6 is our b value, over 2 times our a value of 3. That ends up being -1. So we got -1 for the x value of our vertex. So we can go ahead and type that in. To get the y value of your vertex, you need to plug that -1 in. Oops, did I forget a negative? -1. So we need to plug that -1 in to get the y value of our vertex. So 3 times -1 squared plus 6 times -1 plus 5. It is very helpful to put this in parentheses so that when you type it into your calculator, you do get the correct answer. Because if I just type in 3 times -1 squared, it is going to give me the wrong answer. So if we type this in correctly with the parentheses, we get 2. That is the y value of our vertex. So our vertex is the point -1, 2. And I just want to tell you really quick, if I type this into my calculator incorrectly, plus 6 times -1 plus 5, I end up with -4. So if you end up with -4 there, you need to use parentheses. You must put parentheses around those negative numbers when you're typing that into your calculator. The nice thing about this version of the equation is that the y-intercept is this c value. So the +5, that's going to be your y-intercept. Your y-intercept is always 0 and then whatever that number is. If you plug 0 in, 3 times 0 squared is 0, 6 times 0 is 0, you end up with 5 as your answer. Okay, those are the 2 points that you need to graph. So here is how you graph in EdSite, how you graph parabolas in EdSite. So I'm going to jot this down. It might be helpful to jot this down on your paper as well. That's our vertex, and our y-intercept is 0, 5. So you click where it says click here, and it puts this parabola on the graph for you. Grab the vertex point and move it to -1, 2. Then grab the other point and move it to 0, 5. Now watch carefully, because that little label up there kind of looks like a 5, but it's a 6. So make sure that you've counted and that you are actually at the point 0, 5. And it does the symmetry and gets the other side of the parabola there for you. So graphing parabolas in EdSite is actually pretty easy, because all you have to have is those 2 points, drag them where they need to go, and then you're done. Write the equation for the quadratic function with the given vertex passing through the given point. Okay, so basically we are using, remember, f of x is the same as y. They're telling us that the vertex is -2, 3. So I'm going to start by putting the vertex in. The vertex, -2, that would be a +2 squared minus 3. Don't forget the square. That's the most common thing that people mistake, is they forget the square. Then I know that the point on the parabola is 1, 0. So I'm going to plug that point in. The y value is 0. The x value is 1. and then do some math. 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 squared is 9. I'd add 3 to both sides, so I have 3 equals 9a. Divide both sides by 9, and I get 1/3 or 0.33. We now need to take that back to this version and replace that a with 1/3. So our answer is 1/3 times the quantity x plus 2 squared minus 3. Now, if you just use the vertex to help you, you could at least narrow it down and say, I know that that x value has to be opposite, so it can't be those. And that gets it down to just 2 options. But to get that a value, you do need to plug in the 0.10 to figure out what your a value is. So that's our correct answer. For solving the inequalities, we need to find those key numbers. And actually, the answer choices help you out quite a bit. You can see that those key numbers are -5 and 4, but I'm going to show you the full process of how you find that. So we are going to take this and pretend that it's a trinomial that we need to factor. So if I were going to factor this, I'm looking for 2 numbers that multiply to give me -20 and add up to 1. That would be 4 and 5. So I know it's 4 and 5. It has to be a +5 and a -4. Which means the solutions, the key numbers that we're looking for here are +4 and -5. So these are like our test points. So what I do is I make this little chart. Here's -5, here's 4. I put the -5 on the left because it's smaller than 4. And I want to test a number that is even smaller than -5. So I am going to test -6. So I plug that into the original problem here. -6 squared is 36. And then plus a -6. We want to know if that number is bigger than 20. Well, that would be 30. And yes, 30 is bigger than 20. So yes, numbers smaller than -5 work. In the middle, I'm going to test something in between -5 and 4. I love to test 0 because I think 0 is a really easy number to plug in there. 0 squared is 0 plus 0. Is 0 greater than 20? No, it is not. Then I need to test something bigger than 4. Now, I'm going to test 5. You could test 10. You could test 20. You can test anything that's bigger than 4. I just like to test numbers that are fairly small and easy to plug in. So I'm going to test the smallest number that is bigger than 4. 5 squared is 25 plus 5. Is that bigger than 20? Yes, it is. The symbol that we're going to use is a symbol that does not have the equal to sign on it. So this means that numbers smaller than -5 are going to work, numbers larger than 4. So x must be less than -5, x must be greater than 4. You connect those kinds of things with an or. If they're pointing in opposite directions, it's an or inequality. So our correct answer is x is less than -5 or x is greater than 4. Here's another one. Solve the inequalities. X squared minus 6x is less than or equal to 40. I'm going to get 0 on one side and factor and solve. So I'm looking for 2 numbers that multiply, and I know it's not really equals, it's less than or equal to, but you know, whatever. We want 2 numbers that multiply to give us -40 and add up to 6. And honestly, the answer choices are going to help you out quite a bit. It's going to be 4 and 10. To get -6, the 10 would be negative and the 4 would be positive. So then the solutions, the key points that we need to look at are at -4 and at +10. So same thing, I'm going to make this little chart. -4 is one of our key points, 10 is the other key point. So I'm going to test -5, I'm going to test 0, and I'm going to test 11. So if I test -5, now remember you're going back up to the original problem. So -5 squared is 25. -6 times -5 is positive 30. Is that less than or equal to 40? That's 55, so no, that's not going to work. Test 0. 0 squared minus 6 times 0 is 0. 0 is less than or equal to 40. And if I test 11, that's 121. 6 times 11 is 66. That'd be minus 66. And let me actually check that on my calculator. 121 minus 66 is 55. No. So we want the numbers that are in between -4 and -10. And because it's a less than or equal to, we're talking about using the or equal to symbol. So we can include -4 and 10 in that, and we want the numbers that are in between those. That is an and inequality, so we're saying that -4 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 10. X can be any number in between the -4 and the 10. And remember, because it's that less than or equal to symbol, you know that it's not going to be that one or that one because they don't have the right symbol. So that gets it down to just two options, and then that one is our correct answer. When we're solving something that's more a rational function, a rational inequality, we're looking again for those key numbers. And the kicker here is that what can the bottom not equal? So if the bottom, if x was 5, 5 minus 5 would be 0 on the bottom. And we can't have something that is smaller, or we can't have a 0 on the bottom of a fraction. So our key number that we need to look at here is 5. 5 is that pivotal number for this problem. So I'm looking at numbers bigger than or smaller than 5. So I'm going to test 4 and I'm going to test 6. So 2 over 4 minus 5, that'd be 2, oops, we're seeing if this is less than 0. 2 over -1, that would be -2. Yes, -2 is less than 0. If we test 6, 6 minus 5 is 1. Is 2 less than 0? No, it is not. So again, look at your symbols. We know that these two can't be correct because the symbol is wrong. So the numbers need to be smaller than 5. X needs to be smaller than 5. This last question is a potential bonus question, and really what it's asking you to do is complete the square to convert this from what I call standard form back into vertex form. So I'm just going to show you how I do this. Now, this negative in front is a little problematic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply everything by -1. So I'm going to have negative f of x equals positive x squared minus 6x plus 8. So I multiplied everything in that equation by -1, including the f of x. Now, I need to complete the square here. So I'm going to do negative f of x minus 8 and leave a blank equals x squared minus 6x and leave a blank. So I took this 8 and I moved it to the other side just to get it out of the way so I don't have to think about it. -6 is the result of 2 times -3. -3 squared is positive 9, so you're going to add 9 to both sides. On the left side, we have negative f of x plus 1. And on the right side, we can now factor that into the x minus 3 squared. We then need to subtract 1 on both sides, so we have negative f of x equals x minus 3 squared minus 1. Now I just need to multiply everything by -1 again to get rid of that negative on the right side, or divide everything by -1. So we have f of x equals, this x minus 3 squared is its own term, so we'd have negative x minus 3 squared plus 1. So our final answer is negative x minus 3 squared plus 1. Another way to do this would be to do opposite of b over 2a and figure out what the vertex is. That'd be another way